Welcome to Big Ideas, the podcast where three co-hosts rotate roles to explore real conversations, meaningful ideas, and the decisions that shape our lives. I'm Jessica Broadway, coach, author, and speaker, and I help people navigate the messy middle of seasons of change. And I am here in Nixa, Missouri in my home studio, and I'm joined by my two amazing co-hosts. Justin, kick us off.
Hey, I am Justin Gabassi. I am a human optimization coach, a touring musician, a drummer, and also a world traveler right now studying how different cultures connect through food, art, all kinds of things. I'm trying to learn about people and the planet. I'm currently in Thailand. Specifically, I'm on Koh Phangan Island in the Thailand Gulf. Quite an amazing little spot. So, yeah, that's what I'm up to. Who else is on here?
That'd be me, Mark Steiner. I'm a father, a partner, a mate, a creator, an actor. I'm a podcaster, and I'm co-founder and CEO of Gig Salad. And my POV today is Springfield, Missouri. It's a beautiful sunny day. I'm in my office, and I am ready for this episode.
Yes, me too.
You know, one of the things that I think is safe to say is that we are all very multi-passionate people. Our resumes are quite long, and actually part of what we're going to talk about today is all the ways that this particular problem shows up in life. I have been a coach for over 15, going on 15 years, a little over that now. And something that I see come up often is the delay of game, so to speak, like the intentional stuck, I know better, but I'm not doing better. And there's kind of two ways to look at the delay of action. Is it a knowledge gap or a belief gap? And I thought I would kind of frame this up for us because I want to just have, I don't want to do too much like this is how I coach people through this, like coach's hat today. I just want to have a human to human conversation about it because it's real. But I think if people had a different lens to look at it, they could maybe coach themselves in that capacity and just have a real internal look at what is going on. But I've always seen kind of two pathways to not being able to take action. So the title of the show today is those hidden personal problems, why you know what to do, but still don't do it. Okay. So I feel like that's kind of all relatable, but there's two kind of ways that would affect you, your beliefs or your knowledge. And if you have a knowledge gap, that's easy to fix. You just go learn what you need to learn and get on with it. It's the mindset and the belief part that ends up hijacking your ability to take action. Sometimes those can be so deeply rooted, they're even subconscious. Like you literally have no idea why you do what you do. And it's worth a conversation and a reflection. So as we get ready to kind of talk today, I would love to hear from you guys, and I'd like to share kind of my own take on it. And then let's just have this roundtable discussion of how we've seen that impact our lives, and then maybe what we do to help ourselves coach ourselves through those moments. Mark, how have you seen this, like personally? Have you ever had a moment where you're like, I know better and I am not doing better? And then how do you see that in other people? Are you able to spot that in others? Like, I know they know better and they are not doing better. Like, can you share a little bit?
Yes. Well, it took me a long time to decide to stop drinking. Even though it was having adverse effects. Mostly, it just made me feel lousy the next day. And if that wasn't enough, I'd get up later than I wanted to get up. I didn't do the things early in the morning that I wanted to do because I got up late, and I was immediately behind the eight ball the rest of the day. And I would say to myself, what's the point? Like, why was that hanging out last night with the guys? or that, you know, fun time at the lake, really fun over the weekend. Like it, there's so much, there was so much that it took out of me. And I wrestled with it for a long time until I finally just said, no, just stop, just take a break and see how that goes.
Hmm.
And so I, I know what it's like. I see it in friends. That very same, that same topic, just sort of sobriety, people struggling with it now asking me about it, like, hey, how you doing with that thing, how you,
Mhm.
and I'm like, it's great. come, come on, you should do it too. So
So
that's,
was there a time that you, because it sounds like you started to know better and then you were actually able to follow through with that and do better, you changed a habit. What about a time where you knew better and you didn't do better and weren't able to follow through with it? Like, what was that experience? Have you had that?
oh, it was all the times before I finally stopped. It
Okay.
was, it was feeling that way, and choosing something less good, and just feeling, like it served a purpose. It served a purpose without even knowing it. I like being around people. Sometimes being around some people required having a drink just to just to sort of navigate that experience, that social anxiety. And so but in the end I was like, it's not really ultimately worth it.
Mm-hmm.
The same thing with, I used to be a big poker player, and I was addicted. I was fixed. I was going to play poker at least once a week, and I did for 20 plus years. And often there would be a player or two in the group that just were intolerable.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, just, and you just sort of accepted it, because it was like they were part of that thing, and
Hmm.
but week after week I would ask myself, I just spent 6 hours spending time with a person or two that didn't really throw me. Why would one do that? And
And they
I
drove
kept
you to drink.
They drove me to drink while I was gambling. Don't mix your vices, everyone. Don't mix your vices, because often those are the people, when you're playing cards with, you're like, I want to take this guy down. I'm gonna so and
Becomes about
very,
ego.
oh yeah, all of it. Yeah.
So what
And
when you decided to not do that anymore, uh was it uncomfortable, or what was that process like of being like, okay, so now I know better. All these other times I've kind of compromised myself. You spoke to not really feeling good the next day, but when you decided to stop kind of using those vices to get through the day, how did you make that shift in your community when you said, I'm not going to do this anymore?
yeah, I mean, breaking habits, especially breaking bad habits, are sometimes the hardest ones to break. And I've had a lot of them. I mean, I was a young smoker. I was, I've done so many things that I've had to stop doing, and some of them are a lot harder than others,
Mm-hmm.
even though they're hurting me and not doing serving me well. And I'm not being the best version of myself. But food's a big one. That's another one.
Hmm.
I eat certain foods because I'm addicted to them, and then I don't feel great afterwards. But that's where Justin comes in and helps me with some of these nasty habits. I want to hear what Justin has to say about breaking habits.
Oh man, am I up?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I
me.
have a follow up question. So if I forget to ask it, don't let me forget, because
For
there's,
Mark?
I'm curious. Yeah, but I want to hear how you have to answer in case that influences the way I ask the follow up question.
All
So
right, all right.
before I
Do
go,
you have this written down somewhere, or
yeah, I got you.
okay?
I'm good.
Um, well, first of all, I don't think I belong in this conversation because I don't deal with any of these issues.
No,
Oh, got it.
that's
Well,
fine.
So,
there's always one.
Put him on the spot.
Oh
Mark,
man.
we're gonna have a sidebar conversation about what Justin doesn't know about himself. No, I'm just kidding.
Hey, no more of that stuff. You guys are going to send me down a bunch of ChatGPT rabbit holes again, like after the last podcast when I was trying to see if I actually have ADHD or not. That you guys
Oh,
have no idea how much that spun me out.
what was the verdict?
The verdict is I do not have ADHD.
Okay,
Why is that funny? Why is that funny?
it's fine. Just
Look, here's the deal. There's another aspect to this that I'm in the throes of right now, to speak to what Mark said, that I've been playing around a long time with this dopaminergic stuff, right? The dopamine stuff. So, because at the core of this, there's like that, why don't you do what you know you need to do, right? You know how to do it. You know that you need to do it. Why aren't you doing it? So, like, here's a very real scenario that I've had happen to me so many times, and I'm in the middle of it yet again, where you guys know I get like uber disciplined. I'm like an all or nothing kind of black and white sometimes on some things. I've done like up to 55 days of dopamine reset, which some of the following items I don't do, right? But I'm going to list everything, right, for everyone out there. And I can tell you, if the audience wants to know what I do and don't do, but like for 55 days, no alcohol, no cannabis, no sex, no porn, no masturbation, no caffeine, no sugar, no social media, no television, to try to figure out what my baseline was. So since I've been out here, though, traveling for 8 months, different cultures party. Well, most cultures on the planet party, right? But also, sometimes, like Mark alluded to, you self-medicate. And there's been times I've gotten really lonely or I've gotten really stressed. And so I'll have a drink or two, right? And if the area allows for cannabis, I'll have some cannabis. Like, I have mixed feelings about it because I think there could be, there's science about the medicinal benefits of cannabis. But again, it's a slippery slope because it still affects dopamine and it affects all these things, right? So, Jessica, you and I are honing in on basically a 30-day runway before we go do our perfect day thing for a big corporation. And I am going into another dopamine reset because, again, I want to go like guns blazing, have my foundation really set. All that to say, I've cut everything out again, and I noticed like a major lull. This is what happens. Like, we self-medicate because, like Mark said, we're around people that we can't really tolerate, or whatever the case might be. The energy's funky, or any number of reasons. Well, then when you quit everything, though, your dopamine dumps out. And I think also on a day-to-day level basis, depending on how often people are bringing these things into their system, can cause those highs and lows, right? So the other day, like 2 days ago, I woke up in the morning and like everything's going really well. Things are smooth on the travels right now, all that stuff. But I was just off, man. I was in a funk, like depressed and lacking motivation. And that's the thing that happens when you quit something, your dopamine drops again. So like, I know how to do it. I know what I need to do. And I'm like pretty disciplined, but I'm like, oh yeah, my dopamine is jacked up. Like that pool is trying to fill back up right now. So there's a physiological component. Okay, go ahead.
Is it possible that you're depressed more than you think that you are? And when you are doing the drinking and smoking and the other things, that's the thing that keeps you from really feeling that depression or sadness, and that there's possibly a deeper route to go?
I think that
really delve into those feelings.
I think it's accurate, man. I think I've dealt with depression a lot more throughout my life than I've admitted. And I don't know what that's about. I mean, we all have childhood trauma and stuff like that, but I definitely have battled hardcore with it.
Yeah.
And I will say this. My general baseline is getting better because I've had to like super go in the ring with the things that cause depression since I've been out here on the road alone a lot. and it's not sustainable. Well, first of all, sometimes like in Morocco, my first leg, I just left everything, right? It was probably like the hardest, and the language barrier was crazy. So I was probably one of my most depressed times. And everybody's like, oh, they think I'm on vacation. I'm like, no, I sold everything. I left everything familiar. And like, I can't talk to anybody because nobody speaks English.
Mm-hmm.
And my buddy Seth that I was staying with and his family had left for a while, and I was alone, man, and I was depressed. But you can't, some countries, just certain things are illegal. So you're just like alone. I mean, I needed to make sure that I didn't need substance to make it through the depression. And since I've been white knuckling it some, again, my baseline mood has come up. It's been really refreshing, but I've had to be in the ring hard, man. It's been super rough at some times. So does that answer your
And
question?
you bring up a really good point. I'm glad that you went there. There's a difference between clinical depression, meaning a chemical imbalance and regulation problem within someone, like their makeup, and then situational depression, which is circumstantial based on life changes and events and things that you go through. So sometimes we need help getting through those. There's medication routes, there's things like that for people who know better but can't do better, and they need some help getting through those issues. And while it's important to talk about, I don't want to glaze over that, but I also don't want to go down that route of talking about those situations, because those have to be viewed from a completely different lens with different information. But
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we can't just not talk about that. That is a real thing that people deal with. And what I heard you saying is that you've experienced kind of both sides of that, where it was sometimes it's been a knowledge gap. You didn't know that it was dopaminergic swings that were dysregulating you. But then once you learned about those and you knew how the protocol to run, to do that. But both of you kind of gave me situations where you understood that you needed to learn something new, and then you learned it. Maybe you had a couple of failed attempts, but then you were able to apply what the knowledge that you learned to make the decision to do something better. What about those times where, like, I'll give you an example. For me, I didn't realize that I was in such a like fight or flight response with things. And just a recent experience was um, maybe this awareness that, like, back in December, I found out that I wasn't going to have to run a campaign for my school board role. And I was happy, yes, but then also I found myself like looking for, well, what should I do next? What should I do next? Almost like I needed some sort of force or struggle in order to feel like I had earned something or accomplished something. And so it's very difficult for me. And I'm really grateful for the awareness now that I have, that I could say, I could spot that. And I didn't do the automatic behavior, right? But I can tell you about tons of other times where it was almost like this internal force, or how I was hardwired, took over. And I was like, why did I do that? Like, I know better than that. And I did it anyway, you know? This particular time, I was able to recognize that pattern, and I had to sit in the discomfort of, like, you don't have to have anything. You don't have to have things, don't have to be hard for you to be able to receive something. Like, it can come easily to you. You can accept that. And I noticed that pattern, that sometimes if I don't feel like I've earned something, it's hard for me to accept or receive something.
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes in my life, I've created unnecessary struggle because of a belief system that things had to be hard in order for me to be able to receive them or accept them. And I think that those belief patterns, like, they keep showing up in different areas, and they're kind of hardwired into us based on learned behaviors. And sometimes those are subconscious, and then sometimes they come to the conscious, and then we can create a feedback loop. We can learn new information, we can apply skills and tools. But they're very difficult to break. They take a lot of conscious awareness to do that. Does that make sense? Do you understand what I'm saying? Have you guys ever been there too? Or is this like
Amen.
unique problem to me?
No, amen all the way. And I don't know if if that's something that's part of society, but I felt the same way. Like some things have happened more easily, and of course some things harder out here on the road. And then I try to make it harder for some reason. Like it's again, like I don't know if it's a self worth thing or what that is, or if it's a programming thing. But I totally get that. I totally
Mhm.
resonate with that.
I was talking to someone years and years before I wrote my book, and I was like, I was so happy. I was so proud that I finally found a title for this book. And I said, it's going to be called A Journey to Raising Brave Hearts. And I felt like it was such a like mic drop moment. And I was so proud of it. And he looked at me and he was like, are you sure? I was like, of course I'm sure. Why wouldn't I be sure? He's like, just make sure that you don't make your identity being brave, or that you feel like you have to make everything that you do a brave decision in order to have succeeded. And I
Mm.
just started crying, and I was like, why would I do that? Why would I do that to myself? And obviously it's because it probably hit a nerve, but I went into writing that book with a very conscious awareness that I didn't want that to become part of the identity loop for myself, that in order for me to overcome something, I had to, take on a particular attribute. Mark, you're nodding your head like you get me. What you got to say?
Well, yeah, there's a couple things. What you originally said about not feeling like you've earned something. You're psyching yourself up, getting ready for a campaign, feeling like you were going to have to work towards you're earning the seat, getting the seat,
Yeah.
winning the seat, right? And then it just got handed to you because of circumstances. Um, it wasn't going to be contested. There wasn't enough to fight, and there you were. That to me are that we have to be willing in life to accept the things that are sometimes just handed to us, because very often we do have to work and scratch and claw and give it all we got. And whereas those times can feel more obviously worthwhile, uh, the times like in this case, this circumstance, you're not any less. You showed up for
Mm-hmm.
number one. Like you were qualified enough, or felt like you were qualified enough to show up and at least throw your hat in the ring. That's something that a lot of people haven't done. Nobody else did it in this case. So
Mm-hmm.
you were the one parent in Nixa who stepped up and said, I want to, I'm going to work on the school. I'm going to do work with the school board. I'm going to do that. And so it's the culmination of all the things we've done in life to get to here and now, which is all that matters. Be here now, being present, and then letting life do what life will often do, which is sometimes surprise us, sometimes disappoint us, sometimes hand us stuff, and then other times take stuff away from us. And so, but how that comes into play with what we're talking about, which is this idea of we do things to ourselves sometimes knowing that they're not good and we keep doing them, or sometimes what's stopping us. And I go back to Justin and what we were saying before, like short of selling all your worldly possessions and going someplace completely unknown to you where you have nobody around you,
Mm-hmm.
and this is how you're choosing to do life in this season. And I don't know how much Justin thought this experience was going to impact him, because I think you went into this, Justin, not just searching for something, but I think and exploring something and wanting to learn, but I think you also went into it thinking, I got something to give. Like
Mm-hmm.
I am at a certain place in my life and I'm ready to go and share this. I'm at a certain, I'm at a certain place. And I think what it's taught you is maybe you weren't quite where you thought you were, or weren't quite where you wanted to be. And you are all of a sudden like, bam, it
Mm-hmm.
is smack, like life, your whole life has smacked you in the face, and you are seeing yourself in a completely different light. And I think that that's wonderful. It's so good that you are getting that experience, and not everybody gets that experience. Not everybody's willing to take the risk that you took and give up and sacrifice everything that you gave up, um, to get to where you're at. I bet you there's a lot of people that are very envious of you. I am. Like, I would love to have that experience, and I just can't right now. It would be too difficult. There's too many other people that I have to sort of, I'm responsible to. And so, what's been exposed to you, what has been exposed, is an opportunity to really dig in and face life and look at the fact that maybe you've really compensated for a long time to not be sad, right? To not be disappointed. And there's been some of that we've talked about over these podcasts. And they're not bad things, and it doesn't make you broken. It doesn't but what it does do, and what I think you can do, is lean into things like I'm a big component of counseling and therapy. Like,
Mm-hmm.
just talk therapy. Doesn't let the decision be decided. Let it be later that,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I could use a little more help than this. Maybe an antidepressant is a thing from that I should really consider now. But who knows? Who knows? We're not doctors. We don't propose to be, but I have a lot of experience in this area, and
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you that it takes a lot of time. It takes time to dig in to the core of who we are, the essence of who we are, learning who we are, and then we can start making better decisions about what we want and don't want in our lives. Is a
100%.
long way is a long way of getting to that point. And I applaud you both, because I think what you've done, Jessica, in that case, when you were like, oh, I don't have to do that anymore. I don't have to, I better go find something else to do now. I have to
Mm-hmm.
find another place to prove myself, or to earn something else, or something different. And I think those are two places where we're compensating for something. Like, you have nothing more to prove, Jessica. You've done so much, right? Yeah,
100%. And it was just the awareness of like, I can see that, and I don't have to do that. I was able to stop in that moment. That's years of work of practicing to recognize my pattern, right? And all the different ways it shows up. I master it in one area, and then I get a new experience in life and it shows up again. And so what I have learned over the years is that it's not about your proof that you're growing shouldn't be in the absence of the thought or the temptation to take on an old pattern. It should be in your ability to recognize and choose differently, right? So like
right.
that pattern will probably always show up for me in one form or another. So if I was scoring myself like, well, I'm dealing with this again, here it comes again, I would be self-shaming. Like, can't you ever get over that? Can't you ever do better? Why are you still dealing with the same old problems? That's not the metrics. The metrics is, am I able to spot it and then pivot when it does show up? Or am I
Yep.
still becoming overcome with it in a subconscious nature? And I don't look for that anymore. I don't look for it to just never be a thing. I just look for the skill to be in, can I spot it? Can I recognize it? Do I know what it feels like? And what I wanted people to hear today, out of this kind of automatic behavior, that knowing better but not being able to do better, and then your hindsight being 2020, and you're going, huh, why did I do that? I know better. Is to kind of just like drop the self shame part of that and
Right.
focus on, what did I notice about my behavior? What do I wonder about it? What is it connected to? Is there kind of a red string that I could pull, that I could be reflective of seeing these? What am I learning from myself? And what would I like to apply differently the next time? Because I I can almost guarantee with some certainty that I'm not lazy. Justin's not lazy. You're not lazy. You don't not care. You don't you're not self-sabotaging because you want to, right? It's not that you're a bad person because we make mistakes. It's because we're human beings and we're human becomings, right? You're becoming and evolving all the time. That's the beauty of humanity, is that we get that opportunity to reflect. And I just drop the act. Like, you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to have it all figured out. It's okay to be like, dang it, that pesky little thing popped up again. I'm going to pivot and I'm going to go a different direction. We have the right to choose to change the narrative anytime we want. We can do a plot twist anytime we want. That feeling of obligation to, just keep repeating patterns or go on autopilot so you don't have to be uncomfortable. It's kind of outdated and overrated,
This
Just
is where I wanted to take it, because this is a 30,000 foot view problem, and you talked about obligations, and when you decide, there's an aspect, I think, of, I don't know, that's correlated with any number of things, whether it's depression or, for me, the more throughout my life I've tried to really learn how to be more in the present moment and be more in tune with my feelings. And so when I get quiet and I get in tune with those feelings, that's when the stuff comes up, and that's when you're tempted to self-medicate. And also your environment plays a big role. And like in a very real sense, with music in particular, it's kind of a cliche about musicians and artists having substance issues, but you're talking about dopamine. So just on like a base level, and Mark, you have so many people with Gig Salad that are performers, right? And I would imagine this is something that they could relate to. But when you go and you perform, you get a bunch of dopamine, you get adrenaline, you get also like the synergy between the audience, and so you get high, even without substance. And then when you come down, it can be quite a low. It takes a while to come down, and then when you come down, you come way down, right? Because things have to re-regulate. So then, for me, I would go perform for a weekend, and I'd be way up all weekend, and then I would come down Sunday night or Monday, and Mondays were usually pretty dark, and it was the neurochemistry, it was fatigue, and then it was also, now I'm alone with myself. And then when I do go socialize, I'm around other people that are also self-medicating, even if it's light. It could be any number of things: tobacco, alcohol, cannabis, maybe harder stuff, whatever people are dealing with. So then the other challenge is with the listeners out there is, maybe they're trying to make, maybe they do know better and they're trying to do better, but there's a major social construct in place where a lot of these things are so socially acceptable. I was talking to a friend here on the island, and it's like, a lot of times I'm just so sensitive, and like, I'm in the moment. So I really am paying attention and really trying to connect. I'm out here trying to learn human connection, and I'm picking up all these vibes, and they're weird vibes, man, because everybody's dealing with stuff, right? And some of the stuff they're wearing on their sleeve. And I come in like high and clean, like high energy, but clean, like sober. And I'm like, woo, people are funky right here. Like, people are feeling funky in this space, like the energy. So then I'm like, man, I either got to get out of here or I got to get on their level. And so then it becomes also the boundary setting thing. And it's like, these are people I care about, right? But I can't meet you in this space. So let's meet for coffee or lunch or something instead, right? Instead of let's meet at the bar. So it's like so many things, and we're all just trying to do the best we can. But these are all tough things we have to navigate, because if you're gonna know better and then do better, it's not just about you. It's about you first and foremost. But then what's your environment like?
Yeah. It comes down to me, for me, um, questioning, am I enough without this thing?
Amen.
Will I be
Mm.
enough?
Mm.
And I discovered these things in increments, starting with not drinking, and then the ADHD diagnosis, and then from that point on, trying to figure out, navigate. Okay, it's proven that I know now. There's something different about my brain. There's something different about. I have this condition. Now, what am I going to do about that? I have this knowledge. I'm going to talk about this. I'm going to share this knowledge. But how can I figure out how to potentially do better with, improve with this information? And I slowly started to peel back these things that I thought the things that made me insecure. I was insecure about the things that I felt like I was less than somebody else. All the comparison I did to other people, and then I just sort of, I said, I am me. There's no one else like me. And what about me? What, how can I just, I need to learn how to be enough. I need to learn how to feel like I'm enough with just me.
Mm.
And then I can go out and be with people and do my best to feel that same way when I'm around other people.
Mm.
Mm.
And
That's
can I
really,
do that can I do that without adding something to me or giving myself something that makes that easier?
mm.
Mm.
Um, do I the liquid
Liquid
courage,
courage. Mhm.
liquid courage, right? Like,
Yeah.
does it take a drink for me to talk real, to talk from my gut, to talk from my heart, to say something really vulnerable, or you know, that I might not otherwise say unless there was like the drink was talking.
Mhm. Mhm.
And the more I looked at those types of things in my life and the situations in my life where I felt like that, um, the more I leaned into it and just said, I just want to be, I want to know who I am, and I want to be true to him. I want to be true to him. And all I can say is I am complete.
Mm.
I've discovered I'm enough. And it doesn't mean I'm always feeling 100, but that's enough too. Because that's just, that's my emotions. That's life. That's what we all have these. What am I going to do in this time and place being here now? So,
I heard someone say one time, I love what you said there, is it was being enough is enough. Whatever that
right.
version of you is, like,
Yeah.
I'm recovering from being sick this weekend. So my you know, I'm at a different energy level today, or I have a different skill set today, whatever, but that's still enough because I exist,
Right.
I'm a human being. I have value without the things that I do. And I heard
Right.
someone say one time, which is what I started to say, is that you shouldn't be your best all the time, because then it wouldn't be your best, it would be your average.
Mm,
Mm.
And this freedom to just show up and be yourself, and know that, because and this is the, I think, the nuanced space of this is, the more you get to know yourself, it's really at the core. I know we started out with a question about behavior, but the behavior is driven so much by identity, and like knowing who you are and the value you bring, is not in the things you do. It never has been. But from the outside, it could still look like that, right? Like, I still do all the things that I did before I had that awareness, but I was doing it to earn the approval of other people, right? Now I do it because I know who I am, and I know that in doing some things I can share my gifts and talents with the world. Like, it's a self-expression thing, a way to be myself in those things. So the energy shifts, the sustainability of it shifts, like the why you do it shifts, because it's never been about the things you do. It's always about making space to learn who you are and why you exist on the planet. My favorite exercise for that is always to look at my fingers. Look at your finger, guys. Put your finger out. Put your finger out.
Which one?
our, our fingerprints are different for a reason. Like, I can't be you. I can't be you. So I can spend a lifetime trying to be a version that other people want me to be that I was never created to be, or I can just honor the time it took to put a unique fingerprint on me, and I can just be that, you know, and learn about myself as I go through life and be reflective, grow when I can, do the things I like, just waves of your life. There's a song about that and how they shape you. So, Justin, do you have any thoughts as we close up
Yeah.
our time together?
Yeah, you guys know me, and maybe the audience is by now starting to get to know me. You know, I like closure. I like
No,
to have like takeaway for me, and we've gone, you know, a nice big circle, and so what I would like, if you guys don't mind, is I would like each of us to answer the original question, which is, or maybe like a couple tips from each perspective, how to, you know what you need to do, but you just can't do it, or whatever the case, you know what I mean? Um, so I'll go first. So you guys you know, and then we'll wrap it up for the audience. But for me, what really resonates with me is, and I spoke to it, but always going back to taking a look at your biology, your physiology, just because it's so interesting. Like Mark, you talked about, I almost want to call you out early, but you talked about drinking or stopping drinking. And the other thing we were kind of touching on with physiology was how you had a hard time drinking water, right? But it's like these things, as busy as we are, and we really take our health as like a second or third or fifth thought. So like for me, it's, I go, if I'm off mentally and emotionally, and there's probably maybe really significant reasons, but I'm like, okay, am I hydrated? Did I drink any water today? Did I eat food today? What kind of
Mhm.
food did I eat? Did I take any deep breaths? You know what I mean? Like just like checking in with my physiology, like getting the basics, so that the machine has the gas, has the oil, you know, like a vehicle, you know, and just checking those boxes. And then I'm like, okay, I'm still jacked. All right, now why am I jacked? At least I got the basics covered. So I would tell the audience, as the optimization coach, to make sure you're fed and you've drank some water and maybe took a couple deep breaths, and then check in with what's really happening. Okay, I'm done. Go ahead.
I'll go. Yeah, that's great. That's really good, Justin. And I am hydrating, by the way.
Attaboy.
I've got two water jugs right over there. I've been drinking, and it
Cheers.
makes all the difference. For me, it comes down to less expectations, um, and more acceptance.
Mm,
I am putting less expectations on others and less expectations on myself, and I'm accepting that I am human, which is not easy because I felt so much of my life I've had to live in a place of perfection. Uh,
mm,
Otherwise, I would not be accepted, and that is not true. It's not. It's not real. It's not reasonable. We are human, and we have to accept that fact. And by being human means we're fallible. We'll make mistakes. We won't always do the right thing, in spite of knowing some often that it is, you know, the do, you know, doing the right thing and not doing it is just part of our humanity. And
mm-hmm.
yes, we can talk about self-will and discipline and self-control and all these other things, but we're not perfect, and we're never going to be those things 100%.
Thank you, sir.
Man, you two covered both angles. I mine somewhere in the middle of that. I think that the real physiology is something I do an inventory of, like, hey, you're feeling a little off today. Could it be that you didn't drink any water, right? So drink some water. Definitely touching on those physiological perspectives. But something I often tell myself is the present moment is a place I try to anchor myself. It's the only thing that we really get to experience at 100%. The past is the past, and the future hasn't even happened yet, and our brains kind of go like a ping pong ball of reviewing the past for clues to find out if it can predict the future. And oftentimes that will catastrophize for as a safety mechanism to find out all these options that might happen or might not happen. and none of those are actually happening right now. And so protecting the present moment and just reminding myself, like, what is actually happening right now, not what I feel or fear, what is happening right now, and being in the present. So that's what I do when I get in those moments, and give myself a second chance the next day, because, or the next moment, right?
Yeah.
Well, guys,
Yes.
thanks for your discussion today, and thank you, listeners, for tuning in with us. This has been episode of Big Ideas, a podcast about people, perspectives, and the ideas that shape who we're becoming. If this episode sparked something for you, stay curious, and we'll see you next time.
Goodbye.
Bye.